Jackie takes us on another journey of Sicily history, introducing us to the beautiful story and movie The Leopard, Il Gattopardo, written in 1958 from Giuseppe Tommasi di Lampedusa, as he shares the changes of the Sicilian life during and after the unification of Italy. You know, Sicily's culture is very different from the mainland of Italy, and this story explains pretty well why Sicily is so unique. Ready? Let's go. Ciao Jackie, thank you again for being with us.
Hi, Dario.
Today I want to start talking about one of the most popular, most famous book and actually movie from Sicily. You start talking about it and a few questions for you.
So yes, you're talking about The Leopard, Il Gattopardo by Giuseppe Tomasi de Lampedusa. The book came out in 1948, and the movie was directed by Luchino Visconti in 1963 here in Sicily and in Palermo, where I live. Also in some beautiful historical palaces like Palazzo Gangi in the heart of the city center of Palermo. But the interesting thing is that this book is used as a part of regular school study programs in all schools in Sicily today. Why is that? Because it talks about the end of the aristocracy, how the aristocracy, the noble families lived before 1860, and then during and after 1860. Okay, basically. But it's told from the Sicilian point of view. Okay, so that's the difference. Giuseppe Tomasi de Lampedusa was a nobleman, and basically he gets the idea of this story from his grandfather, who lived during Italian unification.
So he actually got all the stories from him. I mean,
most of the story is an eyewitness account of his grandfather. Most of the story.
For what I remember when I read the book, which is very interesting, is the monologue from Don Fabrizio, the main character. And
in the movie, the main character was played by Burt Lancaster.
Right.
The Sicilian prince. Yes.
A fantastic movie as well.
I think so.
So we strongly suggest everybody to watch it or to read the book. The
English translation is very good. The English translation of The Leopard is very good.
Okay. So tell us, from what I remember, for me, what really sticks in my mind is this sense of a Sicilian character stuck someplace. I mean, it's like, and I felt that growing up, I mean, as a Sicilian. That sense of, as you said in the other interview, no future, feeling like stuck, feeling like I can't do it. First answer is when you ask something is you get a no. You say you get a it's impossible, and I mean that's a fun story that I always tell to my guests. When I started this job many years ago, I was at that time working for another company, for an American company, and my boss at that time was the guy who was training me. He said, Dario, if you want to talk and work with the North Americans, please be aware that for us nothing is impossible. And I come from a culture, Sicily, where everything is impossible.
Impossible. I understand.
Answer right away. And I remember Don Fabrizio in his monologue made such a clear statement of that, saying let's pretend that we are changing everything, but let's not change anything. Let's keep the status quo and that's it.
Yes.
Do you agree with that? I mean, what's your...
That's the most famous line. Do I agree? in the past, it was certainly that way. If you think of even Italian unification, how some of the aristocracy, some of the Sicilians participated in Garibaldi's army. Some were there because they were hoping for change, but as Giuseppe Tommaso de Lampedusa writes in the Gattopardo and the Leopard, the aristocracy, a lot of the aristocracy participated so that they could have control of the situation, and because they couldn't fight it, they could not fight the Savoy, the Piedmontese army, but they had some type of control on the situation so that things wouldn't change completely for them. But you're right, in the book really talks about the coming to an end of the old life of the aristocracy and the old Sicilian way of life, and how Don Fabrizio, in the end, at the very end of the book, he realizes that things are changing, but he didn't change. He never changed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he never changed, and that's a feeling that I had when I moved here in Sicily in the 1980s. Coming from the United States, okay, in a world where everything was possible, as you said, I came here and I had a lot of dreams, a lot of ideas, and my friends who actually were going to good schools. They were going to the so-called Liceo Classico. They were studying Latin and Greek. Some of my friends back then, when I first moved here, my first friends here went on and became archaeologists, teachers, or doctors and lawyers. They would look at me in a strange way when I would say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, because Sicily and Palermo in the late 1880s and early 1990s did not give a lot of opportunities to people. It was a bit of a dark age. I hate to use this term, but it was a dark situation because the mafia had a lot of control on what you could do. If you wanted to start a business, possibly you had to pay the so-called pizzo.
Right.
Okay, and people were dying when they were protesting against the payment of extortion money called the pizzo. So, anyway, you're right. There was a lot of things had not changed. We're still static for many decades, even after unification, after World War II, with the onset of the mafia taking control of administrative life and business and everyday life. Okay.
Right. So you see that static approach and attitude. You could feel that when you first moved here in the 80s.
Yes, back then, yes, things have changed incredibly, but back then, and I made friends with a girl whose father had been blown up by the mafia because he was a carabinieri in he was protecting Judge Rocco Chinichi, who in 1983 was killed by the mafia. My friend's name is Bartolotta. She was the daughter of Salvatore Bartolotta, carabinieri. And Rocco Chinichi wanted change. Rocco Chinichi, it was the first one of the first police investigators and who put together a team a task team working together to fight against the mafia, judges plus police together, and that's why he was killed. Anyway,
no, I remember that
difficult.
Clearly because my family had a shop in Palermo, and Rocco Chinichi was killed right around the block of the shop. So I remember that morning, right in the city center. I remember that morning. I mean, I was a kid, and my father and when we got the shop, we always go around that block to look for parking, which was a time-consuming tradition, and like many times around that. And that morning, when we got there, because he was killed with a bomb, I mean, that was the first big deal of the mafia, strategy. It became very aggressive against the institutions, and so I do remember that. I mean, I was a child, but I do remember as a very terrible moment.
Yes, I moved here a few years after that happened, but I became friends with this girl, and she told me what happened. It was crazy. It seemed like something coming from Mars, from another world. Me from
Yeah,
Los Angeles, learning about this here, it was a
that's
shock.
that's so interesting because really, when I talk to people about the protection money, which by the way my father had to pay because again he didn't have any option. He went to the police and he was told we can't protect you.
Terrible.
Luckily, I never was asked, so that's good. But anyway, back at that time, it was part of the deal, really,
Right.
that situation. But tell me more about what you see now different. You said in the last few years, or now you can see a very different situation.
It's the whole attitude that has changed. As you know, now in all schools in Sicily and in some schools in Calabria, in Campania region, studying about the mafia is part of the regular school program, starting from a very young age
I
in
didn't
grade
know
school.
that.
Now in Sicily, it's been so for about maybe 12 years, 10 or 12 years, that
Interesting.
it's part of the Sicilian region. As you know, we have a parliament in Sicily. We're an autonomous region. They passed the law about 12, 13 years ago, requiring each school, public or private, to teach children about the mafia. So children start in first grade, year after year, even all the way through high school. They learn about the mafia, how it developed, and how to fight against it. Okay, so the new generations have changed, and so that's why the payment of the pizzo is not so popular today. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but amongst young people, the younger generations, this is changing. And something else that I noticed 3-4 years ago at the street market of Ballarò, we have a very large Bangladesh community. Actually, in Palermo, we have something like 30 or 40,000 people from Bangladesh. And 3 or 4 years ago, this community that have shops and stands at Ballarò Market, which is the oldest street market in Palermo. It's been around for over 1,000 years when the Muslims were here. The Bangladesh community in Ballarò was being required to pay the pizzo to the local mafiosi of Ballarò Market. What did they do? They went to the Carabinieri, the Bangladesh community, got together, and they went to the Carabinieri and turned in the extortioners, the people requiring the pizzo at Ballarò, and those people went to jail. So there's a change.
When was it?
It was 3 or 4
About
years ago. If you look it up, maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, because this community feels that they are a part of Palermo today. They've been here for 20, 30 years, and they have had horrible experiences back home. They came to Italy, to Sicily, for a new life. And when they were asked to be paid the pizza, it's like, we're not going to have it. We're not going to take it. Okay. So things are changing in many, many ways. Okay. So the old, let's say the Palermitani who have been here for generations, and then the new Palermitani that include something like 200 different ethnic groups. They're changing along the way. Think of it, their children are going to school with our children in the same school, studying about the mafia too. Okay, so there's this change going on. Okay.
fantastic. That's
So
such a big hope.
it's a big,
Yeah, when I grew up, that was not even thinkable, anything like that. I didn't know that it became a piece of what they learn at school. I didn't know about this Bangladesh community. that really gives me a new perspective, and actually some hope that, because
things are changing.
Things are changing, right?
Things
Right.
are changing.
Pre-COVID, let's see what happens after.
But nonetheless, the children in school still study il gattopardo, the leopard. But you know, things have changed. Okay, things don't change to remain the same anymore. At least so we hope.
We broke that approach, the tradition, right? And we did in a way that is the best way to evolve through the kids, through our kids. Is the only way to really evolve, starting from the new generation. Wow, fantastic! You're giving me a hope tonight. I will have I will have a better day. Thank you so much. Okay, Jackie, thank you. We hope to see you in Palermo, guiding us through the beautiful monuments and history of the town.
I look forward to it. Yes.
And yes, let's hope it will happen soon. Grazie.
So. Ciao. Goodbye, Dario. Ciao.
Bye bye.